continue, and I will answer this question. So what you can also do, sometimes you need to reverse the result. So basically, if not x. So what not does, it changes whatever boolean we get here to the opposite one. So before not, our program worked like if we input something, it prints that, says hello and whatever we input. If we don't input anything, it does else. So basically, if true, and here else in case of false. But if we put not inside, not, it changes the boolean. So basically, if we have true here, not will change it to false, and the other way around. If you have false here, not will change it to true. So if I run that and leave it empty, it will say hello empty. So else will work. And if I run that and enter something, it will say you didn't enter the name, just because not converts boolean to the opposite one. So sometimes we want to do some condition like that. So for example, y will be another input, and we use enter your surname, for example. So we have enter your name and enter your surname, and we want to do if x and not y, we do hello x, and elif x and y, we do hello x y. So we can do it like that. So basically, if I enter my name and surname, I will get this statement. So hello, name, surname. And for example, if I enter only a name and don't enter surname, it will still work. If I want to use this, for example, I say if x only, then it will work in any case. So this statement will work. If I say and not y, it will actually see that I have x existing and y not existing, then I need to use this. Because otherwise, if I'll try to use y, it will add an empty line. So for example, Roman, nothing here. It will still show me hello Roman, but you can see a space here. Where does this space come from? From this statement. So y is an empty string, and it will add space. So that's why you need to create, sometimes you need to reverse boolean. This can be used. All right, that should be it for if statements for now. And we will go further and look at the cycles. And the first cycle we will look at is a for cycle. And for cycle is used with for cycle is usually used with complex data types or iterables, as we learned last lesson. So iterable is any data type that can be split into values. For example, string is iterable, we have different letters in there, and we have indexes. List is iterable, tuple is iterable, set is iterable, and dictionary in one way or another is iterable as well. So let's create some iterables. I will create something like, let's say, people equals, and we will make it a list. So I will write some names inside. Mary, Sarah, Bob. That will do. I'll show you some diagrams. Flow rule. Okay, so I'll do it like that. So I'll do it like that. Why do we need a for loop? For loop is used with iterables, and it actually repeats a code for each individual item inside iterables. So for us, we have a list with names, with strings actually. So if we use a for cycle on this list, we can repeat same code for each name we have here inside. And if we speak about iterables as a diagram, I will show you that first. It's a general iterable diagram for for loop. So we have a start and stop. This is important because we will next loop that we will have is a while loop, and while loop can be infinite. So it can repeat itself infinite times. And for loop is always a loop for each element, and then it has a stop at the some time. So start and stop. So first of all, we need some iterable object. So object that consists of something. It can be string, list, tuple, set, dictionary as well. And we start the iteration process. Iteration is basically picking values one by one. So I use this one, take next one, next one. And what does this iteration do? It checks if there are elements to take. If yes, then we apply a method or a body of for cycle, and then we go back, check if there is another element. Yes, do the same thing with it. Another element, repeat. Another element, repeat. When we run out of elements, so let's say we used all of our names, we will stop the iteration process and continue with our code. So basically, for is needed to repeat some code for each element inside iterable. If we look at the for loop diagram, it's simplified version of the previous one. So we have a start, and for each item in sequence, is that last item? Yes. No. Do a body of for, check again, was that last night item? No. One more time, and so on until we ran out of elements. As soon as we ran out, we exit the for loop. So for loop is finite, so it can finish when we run out of elements. Let's look at that on practice. For example, here we have a people list with 4 different names, and what I want to do, I want to write a for loop that will take each of these names and say hello to them. So basically take all of the names and say hello. So every for loop always starts with a word for, so that's why for is a reserved name in Python. You can't use a variable for is a reserved name. And basically here I need to create some temporary variable that I will use inside this loop only. It can be X. What I recommend is take something more self-explanatory. So basically, no name, for example, because here we will be iterating through people or their names. So I can use, for example, person or name. By using variables like that, it gives users, let's say, person who will read your code will understand more what happens here. So any variable name you will use here, you just create it. So X is legal variable too. So you can make it X. I will say person for person. And then we need to provide an iterable. So in people. For those of you who might be familiar with JavaScript, for example, JavaScript has three different for cycles. They have classic for when you have to write the condition. They have for in and for off. One of them iterates indexes, other iterates values. But in Python, we only have one. So we only have this for in. And what you need to understand that you put an iterable here on the second place after in, and here you just create any variable you want. Why you need to create this one? Because you need to address each value inside this cycle. So we will address it by person. So inside I will print an f string saying hello and put person inside the curly braces and run the code. Works fine. So we can take an iterable and do the same thing. So basically what we are doing, we are repeating the same code for each of the values. Now I can show you how it works step by step. So you can put a stop here, Python line breakpoint. You might not even have a choice. I do have a robot framework, that's why it's here. So you just put this red dot here. This means a breakpoint. This means that program will work until this line of code, and then it will stop. We can see what variables we have, and then we can continue step by step. So I will stop it here. And in order to run it correctly, you need not just run it, but do a debug. So debug is actually a bug searching algorithm that allows you to stop at some points of program. So you should have a window like that now. So what do we see? On here on the right side, we see a variables that were declared by that time. So we stopped right before executing for cycle. So basically, we only see this people variable. So we have this people variable that is a list. We can open it and see that it has indexes. It does have a len property equal to 4, so it's good. Special variables are variables created with Python, so you don't actually need to look at them now. I will explain most of them by the end of the course. So at this point, before starting this for cycle, we do have a people variable, which is a list. Here on the left side, you have controls, and this green button, green arrow button, allows you to resume a program. Just because we have a breakpoint here in for cycle, and for cycle works like that, so it actually runs this line, then it does something inside and returns to the same line again as many times as many elements we have here in the iterable. So let's do one step. Resume program. Okay, I'm going to resume. Yeah, just push one time. Yeah. So when you push that, the program does one step, advances one step. So basically what it did, it read this line and created a person variable. We can see it here. And it gave its value of Jack. So basically we took first value from our list. So at this round, person equals to Jack. And we print hello Jack as well. So if I push it again, it will be next step. So what happened? We used Jack, we did print that into a console. You can open console here and see that you have hello Jack and hello Mary. And by that breakpoint, person is equal to Mary already. So basically, next round it will be equal to Sarah, and next round it will be equal to Bob. So every time I advance, you can see it changes here. And if I open the console, you can see that we greeted them all. So what does for cycle do? It needs you to create some variable inside, and it basically takes iterable, divides it into elements, and gives this variable the value of each element respectively, and running again and again until we run out of elements. So after we ran out of elements, the program can finish because we don't have any code here at the bottom. All right, so it's an easy way of using for cycle. So we just do that. In Python, if you need a range of numbers, like some, let's say from 1 to 0 to 9, or from 1 to 100 or whatever, in Python it's quite easy because you can create use a range method that actually creates you an iterable. And first of all, I will do it like that. Range, let's say 1 to 10, print x. So what we see exactly the same thing we entered inside the x variable. It is because Python has this, I don't want to explain it now, but I will say that you have an iterable that is all we learned. So basically, one more time, strings, lists, tuples, sets, and dictionaries. And we have iterators. Iterator is a different thing. It doesn't store values, but gets them one by one as soon as we need it. So that's why range is just an iterator. I will explain it a bit more thoroughly later. But if you want to see the list, you can actually convert range into list, and it will return you the list of values. You don't have to convert, but you can if you want to see the list. So range is a special method that gives you a range of numbers. As you can see, you have a start number here. So you start with 1, and you have an end number here, 10. And as you mentioned, 10 is not included. Same as indexing. Last number is not included. So if I wanted 10 included, I will put 11 here, so 11 won't be included. Also, you can leave just one value inside the range. So you can actually say, for example, range 11. This will mean that we start with 0 and finish with 10. 11 not included. So you can put 2 or 1 values inside. It's up to you. If you put one value, we always start with 0. You can also use step here. So I can say 1, 11, 2. This means every second number. So basically all odds for us here.
Instead of range, we can put 1 to 10 as well. 1, I don't know how to call it.
Colon. You mean like that?
Yes.
No. We need to, you mean indexing something? Yes, but we need something to index. So if you, for example, if you have x equal to 1, 2, 3, let's say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, you can index it, say 1 to 10 every second. Yeah. So you can do that. If you have some list here, or maybe it's in some other variable, let's say y is like that, and then you use y here. Yeah, but indexing works with lists or with tuples, for example. So indexing doesn't work on its own. So if you need a numbered list, the easiest way to create it is using range. So let's get back to that. So the easiest way is by using range. So how can we use range with for cycle? So for example, I can create a for cycle, and let's name a variable number in range 100.
Range 100 means
from 0 to 100 not included, so 99. 0 to 91. If you want to start with 0, you can put one number. If you want to start with 1, then you need to put 1 comma 100. So if you're okay to start with 0, it's just a number. So for number in range 100, I can actually do something. So I can take all of the numbers in that range and say I want to return a square of a number. So I will use exponentation. So you don't need to convert range inside for statement. It will still return numbers. So the only reason I did use list method, so we can see what actually range creates instead of just seeing the range value. So you can use range for any sets of numbers, and you can use range for that. So it's okay for us to use it. So for cycle is used with numbers. What you actually can do, you can put if statements inside. For example, I want to check if the square of a number is an odd or even value. So I can say if number exponentiate to 2 divided by 2 equals to 0. This is how can I check if the number is even. So basically what happens here, we exponentiate number into second degree. Then we find the remainder of dividing by 2. And if this remainder is equal to 0, this means, let's say, print f string number times 2 even, else print f number exponentiated to odd. Even, odd, even, odd, even, odd, even, odd, and so on and so on and so on. So even is, when you divide it by 2, doesn't have a remainder, and odd when you divide by 2 has remainder 1. So you can use if statements inside for, and actually you can, I'm not showing while just now, but you can use while, for, and if inside each other as much as you want. Depends on your logic. So what you want to achieve. And similar task will be your homework as well with for statements for using for and if together, and it is called FizzBuzz. You will definitely find the solution on the internet. I want you to do it yourself. I will explain in the end of this lesson. But the thing with FizzBuzz is it's a very favorite assignment that people ask you on job interviews. So write me a FizzBuzz. And the task the task is quite simple, but it has a couple underwater stones in it, let's say. So basically it says that for the range of numbers from 1 to 100, write a program that checks if number is divided by 3 without a remainder, it writes number and fizz. If number divided by 5 without remainder, it writes number and buzz. And if number divided by 3 has no remainder and divided by 5 has no remainder at the same time, write number and fizz buzz. I will send you it separately written, but that's quite often given as a job interview task, and it's not hard, but there will be some issues with ordering the conditions and so on and so on. So you can try it at home. Couple of more things about for cycle, and we can move on. For cycles can be nested inside each other as well, but you need to be careful with that. So what I will do now, I will create a for cycle for num1 in range 10. And what I will do, I will copy it and print num1, num2, num3, and num4. And change these values respectively. So what I did here, I did 4 nested for cycles. For num1 in range 10, for num2 in range 10, for num3 and num4. You can't give them same variables if they are inside each other, because num1 is assigned here, and if you leave num1 here, it will be reassigned and we will get an error in the end. So if you use 4 cycles inside each other, you need to create some unique names for each of the 4 cycles. So what will happen now? If I run this program and I'll look at the output, what do we see? We see all possible combinations of 4 digits from 0 to 9. So we do have these 10,000 different combinations. If we look at how these combinations are changing, you can see that there is a logic behind this. So basically what happens here, we run the first for cycle, range 10 starts with 0, so num1 is equal to 0. Then we start the second one, same logic here, num2 is equal to 0, num3 is 0, num4 is 0. So that's where we get 4 zeros. After that, this for statement will continue working, while others will wait until this for statement finishes. So what happens now? We have num1, num2, num3 equal to 0, all 3 zeros, and num4 will be doing 10 cycles, 0 to 9. So that's what we see here. 4 0 0 0 1 2 3 4. So last loop actually did 10 times, and only after it finished its 10 cycles we get back here and change the num3 to the next value. So next value is 1. So what we see that here changed 1, and then again 0 1 2 3 4 5 9. Then we change it to 2, and so on and so on, until we will finish this range. When this range is finished, we come back here, change value, and do the same thing with other two once more. So basically what you see here, if I say this range works only 10 times during this program, so now we change number 1 only 10 times. This for cycle does only 10 loops, let's say 10 loops. Next one inside already does 100 loops. Why? Because it does 10 times for each value in the previous loop. So 10 times 10 is 100. So this one here does 10 times for each of the previous one. This means 10 times 100 or 1000 loops. And the last one does 10,000 loops by the same logic. So the more nested for cycles you have, the longer they will be repeating each other. So
You said 10 loops.
10 loops for each. Yeah, but what we see here, so it takes values 0 to 9, 10 loops. And this takes value 0 to 9, so it's 10 loops already for each of the loop of the previous cycle. So here we change 100 times. Here we change 1,000 times, and here we change 10,000 times. That's why we get 10,000 print statements over here. So be careful with nesting those. You need to be, you might get some quite long iterations here, but it is possible to nest these loops inside each other. Any questions so far? Okay, and last but not the least, I will create another variable people, but now it won't be just a list of strings, but it will be list of, let's create tuples, for example. So I will have name as a first value, surname as second, and let's say some integer like age for third. And I will create 4 people like that inside. So let's copy that. Let's say Mary Gold 20, Summers 30, and some Bob Green 40. So we have a more complex list that consists of complex data types or tuples. It can be list of lists or pretty much whatever. The main thing about this list that each element of this list contains 3 elements exactly. So all elements of this list are pretty much similar. They have exactly same amount of values inside. So 3, 3, and 3. So what can we do here? I can use a normal for cycle, same as we did before, for person in people. I can actually write something like, for example, let's say hello person 0 space person 1 dot you are person 2 years old. If you need me to make some pauses or do it slower, just let me know. So what do we have here? We have a list that has elements tuples. Each tuple has 3 different values. I can use this way of for cycle. So basically I create variable person and then I index this variable. Why can I index it like that? Because when we use for a list like that, each person, here a variable person, each person will be giving a value of a tuple. So if I, for example, print just a person here, I can see that person is a tuple. Why? Because we iterate through a list of tuples, and each time we do a loop, we will use this tuple as a value for person. Uh, is it working like that? Of course it is. So I can write a message saying print hello, person 0 is name, person 1 is surname, and person 2 is age. It does work for us, and it's okay when you have a short list like that. And for example, if you have, I don't know, maybe 10 different values in each tuple. So it's name, surname, age, maybe some phone number, email, and so on and so on and so on. I might forget all of these indexes, which one is which. So I might have a problem by remembering what number resembles what value. So what can I also do here? See. Index 7 out of range. I think that you need to check. You have a asterisk. Here I need one up. Okay, you're welcome. The thing is that it's not easy to remember all of the indexes, and you don't actually want to remember all of the indexes. So what you can do, instead of giving only one variable here, you have a list of elements that consist of 3 values. So you can give 3 variables here, and you can say name, surname, and age in people. So Python does allow you to do it like that. So you have 3 different variables, and when you print it, I will actually copy this print statement from the top. And instead of using this person 0, I will use name, surname, and age respectively. Age. So what happened now? Now each of the values inside of our tuple got their own variable names, and we can use it inside the for cycle. So in case you have a large list of values like that, you can actually name it, give each part of the tuple a separate name. What you need to be wary of, you need to be wary of problem with number of values here. So if you, for example, add some extra value, let's say it will be, I don't know, hello maybe. So what I did, I used first tuple and added an extra value in here. I will, let's say, comment out this 4. So I will get error. Why I do get error? Because too many values to unpack, expected 3. So here I give you 3 variable names. This means that each of these tuples must have exactly 3 values. When for cycle tries to assign values to these variables, it does see that you have one for name, one for surname, one for age, and you have another variable that doesn't have another value that doesn't have a variable. This causes error. So using 4 cycles like that might be a problem if you have different, let's say, different number of elements inside of each tuple here. It's exactly the same if you don't provide one. So it will give you another error, but it will be not enough values to unpack. So expected 3 got 2. Name, surname, there's no age. So you can't put it, let's say, default value, add for example, add something like none or something else. So it won't be working when you do separate variables in that case. But if you use a regular for with indexes, in that case, it will actually work. Why is that? Because we never address a index free. We never ask us to print index free, and we don't have any index free in the rest of the tuples, but we do have it in the first one. So as soon as we don't ask for index free, we won't get any errors because there are 0, 1, and 2 in each of the values. If I try to add it, say person 4 or person 3, I will get error, and you can see that I didn't get error printing the first line because I do have this index free value in there. But I did get I received error on the next line, on the next iteration, when we got Mary Gold instead, because she doesn't have a value with index free. So it will work if you do it like that. Be careful with these 4 cycles and different number of variables, but sometimes you will have to work with it. So
yeah, for example, if we have a database where we have the columns of name, surname, age, and some of the ages are missing, or some of the surnames
you
are
will
missing.
still have some value in there. If you work with database, it depends on what data type is stored in the database table column. I mean,
if there is NA, like nothing.
So it's not.
So, but how I will write this hello for
You will be adding let's say none. Actually no, let's add genders. So I will add male. Mary is female. Sarah
No.
female. No, let's do none. Yeah, so we have an example. For example, none. And let's do none for Bob as well. None. So we have people. Actually, I'll comment this out. So what do we have here? We have Jack Smith that has a gender. We have Mary that does have a gender, and we have 2 people that didn't state the gender is not. So we can write a for statement using ifs to control to check this gender. So for example, I can do that for let's say name, surname, age, and gender in people. We can say if gender is none. We don't check none with equal. So if you want to check if it is none, you always use is. It won't be a fatal mistake, so you won't get an error. But using this type of comparison, we'll say comparison with none performed with equality operator. So actually, you don't check if it's equal to none, you check if it is none. It will still work if you put double equal sign, but it's not a good way to do it. So if gender is none, we will print hello name surname, you are age years old, and that's it. Do nothing else. Copy all that and say elif gender is male. You print you are male. And elif gender is female. I'll actually copy to the same print and add female here. Elif gender not is. Here we have a string, that's why we need to use a equal operator, equal comparison operator. So if we need to check if there is value or no value, we can actually do it like that. So you're using an if statement inside.
What if you write gender, print, hello name, surname, your age, years old, and you are gender there, not there, but in the elif. Like in order not to write two elif in the first one,
Yeah, you can
just write gender.
You can write gender and then okay, I'll copy it for you. I'll just copy that.
You will write else.
Comments. Yeah, we can do it as well. So we can do, for example, if gender is none, or we do else. So if we know gender, whatever gender it is, we can use it in here like that, gender.
Yeah.
Yeah, this will be cleaner. Well, I will explain it a bit later, but there are two different ways of writing code, and clean code is not always the best way to do it, because if you want to add something here or change something here, all of the short methods, all of the compact methods doesn't give you this ability. So you can choose between being a let's say using all of the shortcuts, some short methods and so on. But if you understand that your project will need extension later on, it's better to write separate the leaves and so on and so on. So you will be it will be easier to add something inside rather than delete something and write it again because you didn't think about adding. But it will come in some time. So you need some practice. Yeah, this will do great for our task. So you can actually choose between which print statements you do. Or you can save them. Please update your gender, for example, like that. So if it's a different message for a different person. So that's a for statement. So you can use one variable here or many variables, but the rule with many variables that each element does need to have that many elements, exactly the same amount, so should be careful with that. But for statement is one of the constructions to iterate through iterables. So basically we take any complex data type and do the same code with each of its elements. For us, same code is this if statement. We could put some for inside as well, so it's actually working great. Any questions about for? So for and if you will need to use it to accomplish a homework. I'm not sure. I'm looking that we have only half an hour left, so we might not be able to start with ID code today, but that's all right. Maybe those of you who do that data analysis part, maybe you don't need actually this ID, so no program for checking ID, so we'll see. Next cycle is while. While is a bit different from for, and a while cycle is can be infinite. So what happens with while cycle? While requires you to enter some condition similar to if statements. So you must enter condition that returns either true or false. So if I write just true in here, I will say while true and write something inside, print, let's say I can't stop, and run this program, it will never stop. So if we look at our console, you can see that we have this I can stop printing pretty much every, I don't know, maybe 100 times a second or something like that. So what we have here is an infinite loop, and the only way we can stop it is by pressing this red button, stop. By pressing this button, we have a keyboard interrupt message here, so it's an error, and program finished with some exit code. Basically, we interrupted the program, it should be working. And while cycle is widely used when you need to return to some part of the code and continue returning until some condition. Many of you or many of my students, when I ask them if we look, for example, I take the cursor away. Let's say I'll do it like that. Let's say I'll do it like that. So I'm taking my hands off the keyboard, and you see PyCharm. So what do you think? Is this program running, executing some code, or this program is just waiting until I start doing something inside it? Waiting. Any other ideas? It is running, and the thing is that every program with graphical interface is actually running the code all the time, and it does repeat it for you at something like, I don't know, maybe 30 frames per second or 60 frames, depending on your refresh rate. So basically what happens now in the background, we don't see it, but PyCharm has a while cycle inside, and these while cycles keep the program running. Because if I wouldn't have this infinite cycle inside the PyCharm, it would load the program and close it straight off, because our program would reach the end of its code and it won't be waiting anything. So even if we don't use PyCharm and we look at it, it still runs and it still refreshes at the rate of like 30, maybe 60 frames per second. You can also look that through the task manager. If, for example, I open a, say, name PyCharm, if I look at PyCharm, I do see that PyCharm still uses some CPU from time to time, maybe it's 0 for now, and it still uses some memory. So actually, it is working. So I showed PyCharm once, it did load something in there, but basically the program is still running. So you need to understand that while cycles are usually used to repeat the same code. And the program with interface is actually a program that repeats you rendering of interface with all of the changes you do. So you enter something and it does re-render the window with the new values inside. So while is used when you want to repeat something and stop at some condition. For example, I will create an x variable that will be equal to 0. So I have a variable outside of while, it's x, it's equal to 0, and now I will change this while loop to work while x is less than 100. And let's print x itself. If you run that now, it will still be an infinite loop because x is not changing in any way. So x is always a 0, so it will be an infinite loop. But what we can do, we can actually change this x inside this while statement. So what we do here, we say x, so we can say actually x equals x plus 1. But I don't recommend you using this way of writing. If you go to our first lesson, if you go to our first lesson, you will see two cheat sheets inside. One was with arithmetic operators I showed you before, and I didn't show you these assignment operator types. So what Python offers us is that. So this is the way I just showed, and this is the short hand of doing the same thing. So if you want to add 3 to x, so basically x plus 3, like that, we have this x plus 1, you can use this plus equals operator. So what it does, it actually takes its own value. It takes its own value and adds value on the right side to it. So basically, if we speak about that bit, I can use x plus equal 1. This means it will take its own value and add 1 to it and save the new result. So by doing that, I can actually make for a while loop a finite loop. So actually it does 100 iterations. So we start with 0. In the beginning, let's say I put it after the print. I will change x after we print the statement, so I can see that 99 is the last one. So what happens here? While x is smaller than 100, so x is equal to 0, 0 is smaller than 100, we print 0 and increase x by 1. So next, x is equal to 1. 1 is still less than 100. We print 1 and increase it by 1. So it's already 2. And so on until we reach 99. So when we have 99, x is equal to 99. 99 is less than 100. We print 99 and add 1 to 99. So we have 100 already. Next turn, 100 is less than 100. This is false. We don't do anything else inside while. So we continue with our code. So while can be finite or can be infinite depending on what you want to do. And while is largely used to make you return to the same portion of code. So it actually works. I will show you more examples of while statement later when we will start doing this ID app or ID soft. But for now, this should be okay. Any questions? About these assignment operators, so I showed you only the plus equals. Actually, you have more than that. So plus equals will add a value to itself. Minus equals will subtract value. Multiplication multiplies, and so on and so on. Pretty much for all operators. These we won't be using for now. These are for binary and then for more complex numbers, so we won't be using them for now.
I know the third one from the end. Like
this one?
3 times, right?
3 times, yeah. Yeah, but we won't be using it for now. Later in the course, we'll see those. So, this is the while cycle. Of course, you can use 4 cycles inside while cycle, as much as if statements inside, and so on and so on. So you can actually use pretty much everything you know inside while, and you can use while inside if and for as well, and while inside while too. So that's pretty much, let's say, changeable. So you can use different constructions inside different constructions, and there are no rules that, for example, you can use if inside for, but you cannot use for inside if. It doesn't work like that. So all of them can be used inside each other, depending on what you want to achieve. So, for example, let's do something with while. We will do our homework differently. We will say colors equals to empty list. So colors equals to empty list. Then I will use a while statement. While, and let's say I will do a variable now. I do a variable condition equals to true and use while condition. We'll do it like that. And I will ask user to enter some color name. So user input equals to input. Let's say enter color or type, let's say exit to quit. So why I want to use while here? I want to give user as many attempts to enter color as much he wants. So while will always return to the beginning. Let's print colors here too. And I will enter another line between here. I want to make a possibility for user to stop. So if I run it now, and let's say red, enter.
I wrote exit, but it doesn't stop. I wrote exit, but it doesn't stop.
Of course, because we don't have any logic to stop it here using exit. What I want here, what I want to do here, I want to check what user entered. So I say if user input dot lower. You always want to use dot lower or dot upper when you check user inputs, because you never know how user will answer. Equals to exit. Then I say that condition equals false. And else I want colors append user input and print colors. So what will happen now? That user enters something. First of all, we check if it's not an exit. If it is exit, we will change the condition. And if it's something else, will add it to colors list. So let's say red, blue, green, exit. Does it work?
It does just
Some error?
I wrote exit, but it didn't stop.
Do you have this line? Lower equals exit. Ah, there's an exit with a space. That's what we put. Just try exit. Work. So everything's fine. So this is one of the ways you can use while. So basically, until user still enters something, you can use it. It's not a good way to change the condition like that. So what I will do, I will take the same body of while and create another while cycle. I will comment that one, so you will have it here, and I will copy here. I will do a while true. So I'm not making any variable here with for condition. I'm just using true. Let's say we want to add another condition here. Let's say elif user input dot lower equals to print. So when user types print, I want just to show all of the colors. So I will use a print statement inside and say colors. I use an F string colors, and I use this comma space join colors. And just for example, I will print something here outside of else statement. So I'll do like print end of while. So for now, it will still be infinite because we didn't change any. We don't have any way to change a condition now. So changing this variable, actually declaring it because I commented it before, won't change anything because we don't use this condition variable inside here. So what you want to do, if you have an empty for cycle or empty if or something else, you can leave pass here. So if I leave it just empty and run the code, I will get error because you can't leave if empty. But if you want to leave it empty for now, you can use pass. So pretty much everywhere you can use pass, so it won't cause any errors. Yep. So pass is just a temporary, let's say, name. For example, you have, for example, user menu, and you want to write different things for each input. For example, user can input from 1 to 10. You know, like you're calling somewhere, push 1 for that, push 2 for that. So you might want to do that. If user input equals to 1 pass, then you do a leave user input and so on and so on. So you can leave pass pretty much everywhere and then start changing body of if one by one. So pass is just temporary value that can be left inside if, inside for, inside while, just not to cause an error because there's nothing inside. I will delete this bit. So pass is one of these keywords for cycles and for if statements that can be used to leave an empty statement or empty cycle for some time. I will delete this now, but so what do we want to do in case of user writing exit? We want to quit the while cycle. So how can we do this? We can do break with break. So break is a keyword that is used to break the cycle. So if I run this program again and type exit, it will finish. How it will do this? Break will stop cycle at the same line where break was found. So what we do here, if I leave, for example, pass here and do the same thing, type exit. So this statement works. Do exit. What it does, it actually says this one is true. Pass means don't do anything, but pass allows you to continue with code. So actually this line of code was executed. Yeah, end of while. And we got back in the beginning of while again. So if I type exit again, it will show me end of while, but won't quit. So if I put break in here, this means stop cycle at the same moment, at the same time, at the same line where this break was found. So if I type exit here, we will just quit the program and this last line of code inside of while won't be executed. So break stops the cycle as soon as we reached break inside our program. Just quits. It works same with for cycle. For example, you can have a for cycle that stops when you meet the break. You can put break inside for cycles as well. So it's up to you. It depends. For example, you have a for example, you have some long sentence and you want to find where exclamation mark is. And you do for cycle for each letter and check if it's not an exclamation sign. And if it is, you just break. So you found the first one. You don't want to do anything else. So break is used to stop the entire cycle and continue with code afterwards. So if I have something like, let's say, goodbye here, it is outside of while statement. If I use exit, I will still execute this last line of code because it is not inside the while cycle. Break only stops the cycle. So the rest of the code inside will still continue working. It's break. At things like that, like here, for example, I want to stop this cycle round or this cycle's loop and start with the next one. I can do a continue. So what continue does for us, we still have this print end of while line in the end of this statement. So what this continue does, I can actually say that I use print. Yeah, we said if user input lower equals to print. If I use print, type enter, it shows me colors. So basically it executes the command inside, and as soon as we reach continue, we stop this iteration of cycle and start the next one. So basically we don't reach it here because we found continue. We don't stop the entire cycle like break does, but we stop this round of cycles. So basically from this point we get back here and ask for another user input. So if I use else, let's say red, we don't have any continue statement, anything here. So what it does, it appends a color into the colors variable, then it prints us colors, and then it prints us end of while, because we don't have any continue here. If we add continue, you can see that PyCharm warns us, and it actually warns us that this part of code is unreachable. This means that if we leave a program like that, there's no any case that you enter something and reach this line, because you will break the cycle here and you will break the cycle around in both of these statements. So you don't have any possibility to reach the last line of code. So this is break, continue, and pass. These keywords can be used with any cycle. So you actually can use them with for example, or while. Any questions? So let's say we delete these print colors from here. I delete this, and let's say I will add like that color, say f string, user input was added. I will leave it like that, and rerun the program, and we can try. So red added, blue was added, green was added, print colors red, blue, green, exit. Actually I can do even uppercase exit because I have this lower method in there. Exit will say goodbye and quit. So what we have now, we have a working program that asks user to enter some colors and add these colors to the list. We have a method to print the list. So actually using print does print you something. And we have a method to add colors, and we have a method to exit this while loop. So where while loops are used mostly, where you need to repeat some portions of code again and again and again until some condition is reached. And at sometimes, like programs with graphical interface, you need to repeat refreshing of the window or re-rendering of the window. So these are occasions where while is used. So basically, knowing that now, you can create a user menu, for example. So I will do it here. I'll say while true user choice is equal, let's say input, enter a number. So I can do a if statement here and check if user choice equals to 1, then do something. Let's say print you chose 1. I'd say I copy and add a couple of those. A leaf. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and we do else print out of range, and we do a leaf user choice lower equals to exit. Then we do a break. Let's say print goodbye. I will give you some time to complete it. So what you have here is a working program with user menu that allows you to choose from 1 to 4 or type exit to quit. In any other input cases, it will warn you that you choose something out of the possible range. So if I run that, I enter number 1, you choose 1, 2, you choose 2, 3, same thing, 4, I use 0 for example, 0 is out of range, some other numbers, some letters, but if I use exit, program will say goodbye and finish. What I can do now, I can do different pieces of code in each of these choices. So I can actually, in choice 1, for example, I can choose, let's say, username equals input, enter your name, like that, and print hello string hello username. So I did a small part. So if I enter number 1, the program will ask me about my name. I will say Roman, and it will greet me. So I can do something else for number 2, 3, 4, and so on. And I have a exit condition, so I can exit from this code at some point. I also have else statement for all other, let's say, choices that user can make that we don't have any values for. So you can put your parts of code in here, for example, to make a menu. Something doesn't work.
No, I'm just checking.
Mhm.
I copy paste it.
Mhm. If we had mobile phones when I was at school. Yeah, but be careful with, for example, pasting your code inside Telegram, because Telegram does change some symbols, and sometimes when you paste code in Telegram and then post it back to PyCharm, it's changed and it's not working.
That's why I was checking.
So I will leave it like that. There is another construction. I think we'll do it next lesson. So actually, we might not even have a test next lesson then. Because we have another topic to explain. I have functions, and usually test is about half a lesson. But because we have this try except else, we might do test after the new year. And I will double check with Maxim, because actually those of you who go to this data analysis part, maybe you don't need a test because you don't need that much Python as well. But we'll see. I'll think about it. I will send you a homework. I don't know, tomorrow daytime or today evening, because I have another group after you. And I think I'll think about it. For one will be that FizzBuzz I explained before, and another I might think of some different things for each of the parts of the menu. So basically, if you choose one, you will have to do something here. If you choose two, so I might actually expand this one. But that's it for today. So for and while cycles, for is a finite cycle, so it finishes as soon as it runs out of elements, and while is a possibly infinite cycle if you don't change a condition or don't break the cycle in any way. So any questions? All right, that will be it for today then.